We are one day out from the WWE Royal Rumble, and as excited as I am, I feel Friday's SmackDown did absolutely nothing to get me any more excited for the event than I was previously. This is my Friday Night SmackDown review for Friday, January 24th, 2020. I am Graham G. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Thankfully, I feel a lot better than I did last week, where I recorded the SmackDown review anyway, despite feeling under the weather. I felt like shit all weekend. I was sick from a little bit on Tuesday, mostly Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday were tough. I don't know how I recorded that video last week, but I did. For what I thought was a solid episode of SmackDown. Not to say this show is bad, but it was easily the weakest show in recent memory, at least since the start of the year. Not a ton happened, and the goal of this show should have been to get me more excited for the pay-per-view tomorrow. And I felt that it failed in that sense. So we'll get into it momentarily. But yeah, you may hear me occasionally cough throughout this review. But other than that, I feel great. I am ready for the Rumble tomorrow. As I record this, I am mere hours away from leaving for a Northeast Wrestling Indie show tonight in Waterbury, Connecticut. They have Marty Scurll on the card, Vinny Marcellia, Vincent from Ring of Honor, Dan Mott from Ring of Honor. They have Bob Backlund's going to be there, Animal of Legion of Doom is going to be there, Gorillas of Destiny are replacing Rock and Roll Express, which is pretty cool. They have a lot of different people. Darby Allin is the current NEW champion. He's going to be there wrestling in the main event. They have a lot of talent on the card. Haku is supposed to be there, but he had to pull out last minute. So I'm looking forward to that show. It's going to be a ton of fun. Therefore, I am not watching Worlds Collide live tonight. I'll probably, if I'm so hyped up from the show tonight, I won't be back to midnight at the earliest. I'm still probably going to watch Worlds Collide when I get home, if not early on Sunday morning before the Rumble tomorrow. But as for SmackDown on Friday, again, I thought this was a decent show. It was far from a bad show, but I thought it failed in the sense that it wasn't a great go-home show. And I really feel that on the whole, WWE has not done a great job of hyping up this pay-per-view. Now, I know the Rumble kind of sells itself, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe last year we had the same issue, and the year before that, and the year before that. But it felt like the card on paper last year for the Rumble was a lot more stacked. Between Brock and Finn for the Universal Championship, we had Bryan and AJ for the WWE title. We had Ronda and Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship, Becky and Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm looking forward to Becky and Asuka again for the Raw Women's title this time. But Bray and Bryan again, the feud's been decent up to this point, but I can't say the contract signing did much to give me hope that strap match on Sunday is going to be any good. So we'll start from the beginning here and work our way to the end of the episode. Starting with the 6-man tag team match opener, pitting Roman Reigns and the Usos, the Bloodline as they're called, against the trio of King Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode. You had to know this was coming. They've done every other combination of these matches with Roman and Corbin in recent weeks. They've done Roman and Corbin one-on-one. They've done Roman and Roode. They've done Roman and Dolph. They've done Roman and a partner versus Corbin and Dolph. They've done Corbin and Dolph versus the Usos. They've done literally every possible combination you can think of. Thankfully, the matches have been pretty good. I thought Roman and Roode last week was very good. This was another good opener. They gave it a ton of time. And honestly, I didn't really hate that at all. I will take this over a long, drawn-out opening talking segment. I will say that much. I know the middle, not every minute of this match was jam-packed with exciting action. It wasn't the greatest match of all time, but I thought it was enjoyable. The crowd got into it. Once they picked up the pace after the second commercial break or so, it turned into a really fun opening 6-man tag team match. I liked it for what it was. I liked the baby faces going over as Roman and Corbin brawled into the crowd, hyping up their match for Sunday, the Falls Count Anywhere match. I just really, really hope this does not mean Corbin is winning on Sunday. I know that's the more people bring up that possibility, because I've heard a lot of people say that it's going to be Roman and Corbin on Sunday with Corbin going over and maybe Roman winning the Rumble. God, that sounds like worst case scenario. I'm not sure what's worse between that or Cain Velasquez winning the Rumble, which is my official pick, which I hate to say. But that sounds absolutely terrible. I cannot bear another match between Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns at the next fucking pay-per-view, whether it be in Saudi Arabia, Chamber, whatever. The loser eats dog food bullshit, no thanks. Just end it on Sunday and let's move the fuck on. So we had a great promo after that from Lacey Evans, who was interviewed on the stage by Michael Cole. And this didn't really feel like a scripted promo, that it was fake. Lacey talked a lot about losing her father to depression, raising her daughter and wanting to inspire, all the little girls in the audience and to be a role model. I thought this was great. Lacey, as I've said many times over the past month, I think has gotten over very well as a babyface so far. I like a lot better than she ever did as a heel, and she was a very natural heel. Like the Liberty Bell-like character, as a heel, it was fine. It was a good character, but her matches left a lot to be desired. Now, I'm not saying Bayley and Evans on Sunday is going to be like this blockbuster singles match. The feud has given me enough hope that it could be a good match. They've built up an ample amount of bad blood between the two. The brawl here was fine. The brawl here really wasn't anything out of the ordinary. They carried it throughout the backstage segment after this, and then into the women's tag team match, which didn't get started between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And then Fire and Desire, that never got started because Bayley and Lacey brawled out into the crowd, or rather into the ring. And then all chaos broke out, and it was just one massive brawl. And I guess that was their final last-minute hype for the Women's Rumble. That's fucking weak. That match has probably been the least hyped match on the entire card on Sunday, which is a shame because it's the Women's Rumble. It's a Royal Rumble match. We've gotten more hype for the Men's Rumble, and even the hype for that match hasn't been great. But anyway, I thought Lacey's promo, getting back to the original point here, was very, very good. I thought, everything she had to say hit home. She got emotional at one point in the latter half of her promo. It felt real. The crowd didn't buy entirely into it. Maybe they thought it was fake. I don't know. But personally, I thought it was a really, really good promo. And I thought it did its job in furthering the feud between Bayley and Lacey. Again, the brawl left a little bit to be desired, but the actual segment I thought was solid. Like I said, the women's tag team match never got started. We never really got anything from Otis and Mandy on the show, which is a shame because that's been like the best part about SmackDown over the past month. I can't really say I'm surprised or that I'm disappointed just because it doesn't really have anything to do with the Rumble matches on Sunday. They're both in their respective Rumbles, Otis and Mandy. I don't think Mandy's actually been officially announced for the women's, but she's going to be in there. But I don't think it's going to lead to... maybe Otis comes out and helps Mandy win. I doubt that happens, but you never know. But there was no progression of that storyline on the show, unfortunately. We did have Braun teaming up with Elias, who they were about to do a duet, and the crowd was into it, and then they were interrupted by Nakamura and Cesaro before they could do it, before they could do the duet. The match was fine. It was a well-wrestled match. Strowman and Elias went over. Honestly, though, I'm glad Strowman's winning more matches. He wasn't really on much of a roll at all before he got hurt late last year. He had that terrible feud and terrible match with Tyson Fury, who I like. I thought Tyson Fury came across great. But it just didn't work. It felt forced. The match sucked. No one really cared. And then that was it. And then Strowman lost by countout, which was weak. And they weren't going to have Tyson Fury lose. I'm not surprised about that. But just the whole thing was just a complete waste of time. Prior to that, he failed to win the Universal Championship from Seth Rollins. Prior to that, I think he had a feud with Lashley and then whatever. So he really did not do much in 2019. It looks like he will be winning the Intercontinental Championship soon, which I'm not opposed to. He has to win something. The guy's been a ginormous loser for his entire main roster run. And you can argue, Graham, GSM, what about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? GSM, what about the fucking Money in the Bank briefcase? What about the greatest Royal Rumble? None of that shit means anything. Nobody fucking cares. The Money in the Bank cash-in failed. The Saudi Arabia Greatest Royal Rumble was filled with losers, and it meant nothing. They got rid of the trophy and the belt like the following week. And the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal hasn't meant anything in 5 years, if not ever. So that's not really an excuse at all. The guy's been a ginormous loser, and yeah, he's been winning against Nakamura, who looks like a loser too. So how much is it really going to mean when Strowman inevitably beats Nakamura for that championship? The answer is nothing. It won't mean anything. When the match was fine, I was glad Elias picked up the victory. I thought that was nice to kind of give him some momentum. If anyone can really benefit from this feud, even though he's not really involved, it's Elias. I like Elias. I'm glad he's a babyface now. He's getting over to an extent. Not as much as he was a year and a half ago, but it's a start. And I'm glad he picked up the win here over Cesaro. What else is new? We then had John Morrison versus Kofi, which kind of came out of nowhere. They announced this in the backstage segment preceding the match as they were getting ready to walk to the ring. I'm like, what the fuck? I really wish they had hyped this in advance. Not that it really would have made much of a difference, but like they hyped up Morrison and Big E 1 week in advance. Morrison's first WWE match in over 8 years, and then it's like, oh, here's Morrison and Kofi in 5 minutes. Not even. Right after this commercial break. I'm like, okay. But it was a good match. I enjoyed it. One of the better matches, if not the best match on the show, which isn't saying a lot. But it was a good match. They've worked well together before, back when Morrison was first in the company in 08 and 09. So again, no surprises there. Morrison went over, and he actually connected with the Starship Pain this time, which I was happy about. His offense doesn't really look like it hurts. I know that's been a ginormous criticism of Morrison in WWE and elsewhere, and I agree. But his matches are entertaining enough. It doesn't really bother me. It's no different than all the flippity-doodah shit that never really looks like it hurts. So if you're going to poop on Morrison for like, oh, this doesn't look like it connects. Or, the Starship Pain thing is a legitimate gripe because that looks like shit whenever he misses it, which is most of the time, except for last night, which was cool. You can't poop on Morrison and then be like, oh, look at all these flippity-doodahs and all these other promotions, including WWE. Like, it doesn't exactly work like that, in my opinion. It's a ginormous double standard. But the match was good. Morrison went over as he should have. And I thought we would get the SmackDown Tag Team title match at the Rumble. I guess not. I guess they're saving that probably for the next pay-per-view. Hopefully not in Saudi Arabia. I would hate to see them switch the titles there. I would rather them do it at the Chamber pay-per-view, or hell, just save it for WrestleMania. At this point, why the fuck not if you're not going to do it at the Rumble? All 4 guys will be in the Rumble. Miz and Morrison announced they will be in the Rumble. Kofi and Big E said they'd be in the Rumble on Wednesday's The Bump, on that episode of The Bump on Wednesday. So, I don't. Is it a waste of a spot? Yeah, kind of. Just because we know none of these guys are going to win. I guess Kofi is a slight shot. Just because, he could eliminate Brock and he would be able to get the shotgun elimination over the guy who beat him for the belt. That would be kind of cool. I don't see that happening. Morrison and Miz being in there is nice. They're 2 bigger names. I guess it's better than, like, Heavy Machinery being in there. I know Otis has been doing his thing lately with Mandy. Not that thing, but, like, he's been on TV more recently. I don't care to see him in the Rumble. I'm not going to lie to you. Because I know he's not going to win, especially not Tucker. So who the fuck cares? But whatever. We then got to the final segment here, and I figured after the Roman match kicked off the show that this would end the show, which I'm happy about. This wasn't the greatest segment, but I'm glad this closed the show. Excuse me. There's that cough I was talking about. Again, it comes and goes. It's very occasional now, which is good. But anyway, I was happy they opened with the Roman stuff because it feels like the Roman feud with Corbin has been headlining every episode of SmackDown for like 2 months now. So I'm glad this closed the show because the Bryan Wyatt feud needed some more steam. Unfortunately, the segment fell flat. Bryan's trying his best. I'm a fan of The Fiend. The strap match thing just makes absolutely no sense. First of all, I have yet to see a truly great strap match. We've had a number of them before. I think maybe the last one we had was 5 years ago with John Cena and Rusev. I remember thinking at the time that was one of the best strap matches I've ever seen, and even that wasn't an instant classic. This will thankfully be won by pinfall or submission. None of the dumb turnbuckle shit, which I always thought was silly. And it ruins the suspense and like the drama of the matchup just to slap a fucking turnbuckle. I thought maybe they were doing the strap match to prevent Bray from eating another, like if he was to lose the belt to Bryan, but you can only win by pinfall or submission, so clearly that's not the case. I just don't think that's a good idea. And the whole story that, oh, Bray always leaves or he always runs away, blah, 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 and that's why we're having a strap match. Where is this coming from? He ran away from Bryan a week ago when he, descended back into the ring, and that was it. I don't think the Fiend has run away from anything since he was, introduced many months ago. So this narrative that, like, oh, Wyatt always runs away, he's going to be strapped to Bryan on Sunday, it to me sounds like more bad news for Bryan than it is for Wyatt. I don't know, just the whole thing feels forced. The contract signing was whatever. If they never did another contract signing again, I don't think you would hear one single complaint from anybody. Because they just do them all the fucking time. To see the Fiend, sign a contract was silly, but granted, he didn't really sign it. He stabbed himself with a pen and wiped his blood all over the contract. So I guess that counts as the match happening. And again, it's one of those things where, like, it's been advertised for a month, but yet now they're having the contract signing. Why would it be an official match if they didn't sign the contract already? It's a very dumb thing, I know, but these things never make any sense. This was no different. This was a complete wash of a segment. There was no reason for it. I can't say I'm excited for the match on Sunday. If it was a straight-up singles match, maybe, because I thought their Survivor Series match was good and exactly what it should have been. They're trying too hard with the stipulation. If it was a no DQ match, that's another thing, but it's not. It's a fucking strap match, which there's a reason why we haven't seen one in a long time. It's because they're not usually all that good. So we'll see, but I don't have high hopes. SmackDown overall, again, I thought was a fine show. I don't want to shit on it just because I like the Morrison Kofi stuff. I thought the opening tag team match was good. Elias picked up a nice victory. I thought the Lacey promo was great. So to shit on the show, what I feel would be, wrong. The issue is that as a go-home show, it didn't really work. I feel like they put all their effort and emphasis on Raw on Monday and building up this stacked show. They announced nothing for SmackDown until like Wednesday, when they announced the 6-man tag team match. Ooh, that's going to get me excited for this show. Like, not really. I'm excited for the Rumble anyway. I'm sure everyone else is too. It's the fucking Royal Rumble. The problem is that the effort wasn't really here. It feels like this was phoned in. They're already checked out. They're already in WrestleMania season. None of this stuff matters, so why do we even bother? Again, some of the matches were good, so it wasn't a total waste of a show, but there's nothing must-see. If you skipped SmackDown this week, you missed absolutely nothing. I thought Morrison and Kofi was probably the best thing on the entire show, and even that's much of it, is kind of a stretch. So, that's SmackDown from Friday for January 24th, 2020. Looking forward to the Rumble tomorrow. If you want to check out my full predictions for the pay-per-view, alongside Mr. Marceau, RJ Marceau, on Wrestle Rant Radio this week, please do so. Available on all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Podbean, nexttheirwrestling.net. It's all over the place, so subscribe today. Get those predictions now before the pay-per-view tomorrow. We also did predictions for Worlds Collide tonight between NXT and NXT UK. Like I said at the start of this review, I will not be around to watch the show live. I'm going to a Northeast Wrestling show soon, so I'm hoping I can get this video up in time. I was having an issue with YouTube the other day where it took literally hours to upload like a 6-minute video. Inexcusable, but I guess it was my internet. I had to restart my router, and it's a lot better now, so hopefully I run into no issues. If I do, then you're listening to this on late Saturday, if not early Sunday. Hopefully that's not the case, and it's irrelevant by the time you listen to this, but I'm hoping that doesn't become a constant problem that I deal with on YouTube, because it's just a pain in the ass. But anyway, we should be back next Saturday with another SmackDown review. Is it next Friday? I'm not sure. There's a Mick Foley thing coming up in Connecticut. No, it's not next week. I think it's the week after that. Mick Foley's having a talk show here in Connecticut. It might be next week. I don't know. I feel like it's in 2 weeks. No, it's not next week. Next week I'll be at a hockey game. So I won't be around. I won't be around to watch SmackDown Live, but I might still do a review on Saturday at some point. So keep an eye out for that. And then the following Friday, is the Mick Foley thing here in Connecticut. It's like a spoken word show. And I'm hoping to go to that, and if so, I'll watch SmackDown the following day too. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the Royal Rumble tomorrow. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Very much appreciate it. And we'll catch you right back here next week, folks. Enjoy the weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.